She did change the world, but at a terrible price.
It takes a village to raise a child. I know it takes one to bury a child.
Mr. True Crime. Nestled in the picturesque hills of Virginia, two universities are overshadowed by the specter of two unresolved tragedies. Morgan Harrington, a 20-year-old from Virginia Tech, went missing from a concert in Charlottesville in October 2009. 5 years later, Hannah Graham, an 18-year-old sophomore at the University of Virginia, disappeared under disturbingly similar circumstances. Both cases captivated the nation and initiated extensive searches that culminated in a dreadful revelation. The same individual was responsible for both crimes. Morgan Dana Harrington, a bright 20-year-old from Charlottesville, Virginia, had a passion for art and music and aspired to become a teacher. Excelling academically, she graduated at the top of her class and was admitted early to Virginia Tech to pursue a degree in education. Before her junior year, Morgan spent a summer working at the Virginia Tech Carilion School of Medicine. Her infectious laugh and positive spirit left a lasting mark on everyone there. Even though Morgan was busy with university life, she stayed close to her family. She often went home once a week and called her parents daily, keeping their close bond strong even while she was away at school. Metallica concert at the John Paul Jones Arena on the University of Virginia campus. Morgan was really excited about the concert. She had put the tickets on the fridge 6 months earlier, looking forward to the event every day. On the day of the concert, she tried on 3 different outfits, trying to find the perfect one. She finally settled on a black t-shirt with Pantera written in tan letters and added a crystal necklace, showing her excitement and lively spirit for the night ahead. Morgan and her 3 friends, taking her car, drove to the venue eagerly anticipating the night's performance. Before Metallica took the stage, Morgan left her group to go to the restroom inside the John Paul Jones Arena. As the concert began, Morgan was nowhere to be found. Concerned, her friends called her. Morgan explained that she had accidentally left the arena and couldn't get back inside because of the venue's no re-entry policy. The reasons why she exited are still unknown, especially since there were restrooms inside, adding to the mystery of her disappearance. Despite this, she reassured her friends that she would manage on her own and urged them not to worry. Unbeknownst to her friends at the time, Morgan was without any cash. She had left all her money with them inside, along with her car keys, significantly limiting her options to get back home safely. Just after 9 p.m., Morgan Harrington was spotted in the west parking lot of University Hall, and soon after in the Lanigan Track parking lot. By 9:30 p.m., she was seen walking across the Copley Road Bridge, apparently trying to hitchhike, her thumb out in the cold night air. Witnesses noted that she appeared disoriented and cold, and they could see a mark on her chin. After these sightings, there were no further reports of her being seen. The next day, Morgan was scheduled for her weekly visit home to see her parents, Dan and Jill Harrington. Her father had planned to help her study for an upcoming math exam, but Morgan never showed up. She also wasn't answering her phone calls or text messages. Alarmed, Dan and Jill reached out to Morgan's friends who had been with her at the concert. To their horror, they learned that the group had gotten separated the night before and no one knew where Morgan was. The morning after her disappearance, a passerby made a significant discovery in the RV lot of UVA's Lanigan Athletic Field, an area often used by taxi drivers during big events. They found Morgan Harrington's purse, which contained her identification and her cell phone. The batteries had been removed. This key piece of evidence was found far from where Morgan was last seen. As the community tried to understand Morgan Harrington's puzzling disappearance, her friends received some criticism for their actions on the night she vanished. In response, Morgan's father, Dan, stood up for them, emphasizing that they were not at fault. They are not to blame. Everyone wants to make them out to be the bad guy, but they are not the bad guy. I wish they had stayed together, but I don't know that it would have changed anything. She's not a 7-year-old. They wouldn't have put out an Amber Alert, he said, indicating that staying together might not have prevented the tragedy. Supporting her husband's view, Morgan's mother, Jill, redirected the focus to the ongoing search. This is not about finding who's to blame. Let's find her. Both parents highlighted the need to move forward and intensify efforts to locate their daughter, rather than assigning blame. Over 1,600 people joined the search efforts to find Morgan Harrington.
I would just like to talk to Morgan. Morgan, 241. Be strong. We are trying to find you. We will never stop. We are trying, honey. Hang on. And to the person who has taken Morgan from us, please just let her go. She has so much more to live and so much more to give. Please let her come back to her family. We need her.
3 weeks after Morgan was last seen, a critical clue emerged. A student returning from class spotted a blood-stained T-shirt with the letters Pantera hidden in the bushes at the front of his apartment complex, a short distance from the concert arena. Aware of the ongoing search for Morgan, he recognized the potential importance of this find and quickly reported it to the police, hoping it could be a key piece of evidence in solving the disturbing mystery of her disappearance.
What we have to do at this time is sit and wait for information to come in, and hopefully people that see Morgan's face and hear her story will provide some of that information to give us something to do something with.
On January 26, 2010, the long-standing mystery came to a sad end. A local farmer noticed something odd while walking across his large 700-acre farm. At first, he thought it was animal bones, but upon closer inspection, he realized it was a human skull. There were no clothes, shoes, or any personal items around it. The discovery by the farmer was harrowing. Having followed the case of Morgan Harrington, the 20-year-old missing since attending a concert 3 months earlier, he was immediately struck by the sight of the skull, realizing the significance of what he had found. The location of this grim find, about 10 miles away from where Morgan was last seen and over a mile from any main road, suggested a bleak conclusion to the long and desperate search.
The search is over for Virginia Tech student Morgan Harrington. State police say skeletal remains found in a remote farm field in Virginia are those of the 20-year-old. Investigators say dental records provided by the family confirm the find. Harrington's parents met with authorities, then were driven to the farm in Albemarle County where the remains were discovered by a farmer inspecting fences.
There's no public road within a mile, and you're within a mile and a half, so I mean, I'm completely baffled.
Authorities later confirmed the devastating truth. The remains were indeed Morgan's. The discovery brought a tragic closure to the tireless efforts and hopes of a community haunted by her disappearance. Morgan Harrington's father, Dan, received the devastating news of the discovery of his daughter's remains in an incredibly painful manner. A reporter called him seeking a statement. Due to the advanced state of decomposition, it was difficult to determine precisely when and how Morgan died. The autopsy report concluded that she had been a victim of homicidal violence of undetermined origin. The examination revealed severe trauma. Her bones, including her upper left arm, 2 ribs, and her skull, were found shattered. Her parents faced the excruciating reality that Morgan had suffered greatly in her final moments. Further adding to the tragedy, Jill Harrington, Morgan's mother, confirmed the devastating reality that her daughter had been raped. Several months after Morgan's remains were found, the shirt she was wearing on the night of her disappearance, recovered outside of an apartment block, was officially identified. This breakthrough led to a significant development in the case. DNA evidence on Morgan's shirt was matched to a cold case from 2005, which involved another victim here, referred as R.G. Beccasus. Police did not disclose her identity. In 2005, R.G., then 26 and living in Fairfax, Virginia, suffered a brutal attack. On the evening of September 24th, as she returned from a grocery store, she was ambushed. The attacker dragged her to a grassy area at the end of her neighborhood, where he slammed her head against the ground, punched her face, choked her, and sexually assaulted her. Amidst her cries for help, her attacker chillingly warned he would kill her if she screamed again, coercing her into silence with the promise of release if she complied. At some point during the assault, R.G. lost consciousness, regaining it only when the headlights of a passing car scared her attacker away. A man from the car came to R.G.'s aid and tried to chase the assailant, but he escaped. The police did not disclose her identity to protect her privacy. Despite collecting evidence, including a rape kit and DNA from under the R.G.'s fingernails, no matches were found in the database. Overwhelmed by fear and trauma, RG eventually returned to her home country of India, and her case gradually went cold. Recounting the attack, RG shared the profound psychological impact it had on her, describing it as feeling like a bad dream. She suffered extensive physical injuries, bruises, a bleeding nose, and difficulty walking. Emotionally, she endured a cycle of suffering and self-hatred, with days where she couldn't muster the strength to get out of bed. This persistent state of distress highlights the enduring effects of such traumatic experiences. RG was able to give the police enough details to create a composite sketch. While the authorities have kept her identity confidential, they confirmed that her case was linked through DNA evidence to Harrington's case. This new lead invigorated the investigation, prompting widespread media coverage and a renewed appeal to the public for any additional information. In an effort to support the search for justice, James Hetfield, the lead singer of Metallica, the band Morgan was seeing the night she disappeared, released a video. In his appeal, Hetfield urged anyone with more information to come forward, emphasizing the need for community cooperation in solving these tragic cases. His involvement brought significant attention to the ongoing investigation, highlighting the urgency and importance of catching the perpetrator to prevent further harm.
Hi, I'm James of Metallica. Back in 2010, our band offered $50,000 to help catch the person responsible for murdering Morgan Harrington. Since that time, authorities uncovered new evidence linking her killer to a similar assault on a woman in Virginia. If you've seen the person in this sketch or have any information about this case or any others, please contact your local police or submit your information online. Remember, any information, no matter how small you might think it is, could be that crucial piece investigators need to help solve the case. Right now, there's up to $150,000 reward. If you have any information on this case, please call the number on your screen. Thank you.
To aid in the capture and conviction of the suspect, a reward totaling up to $150,000 was offered, with the band Metallica contributing $50,000 themselves.
$150,000 reward is being offered in the murder case of Virginia Tech student Morgan Harrington. I'm Molly Halpern of the Bureau, and this is Wanted by the FBI.
With no significant leads, the case of Morgan Harrington went cold, but just when normalcy was returning to the town, tragedy struck again. Hannah Elizabeth Graham, an 18-year-old British American, was a second-year student at the University of Virginia. Born in Reading, England in 1996, she moved to Virginia with her family when she was 5. A talented athlete and a high achiever academically, Hannah had a bright future ahead of her. Embracing her new life in the US, Hannah was known for her optimism and joy. She deeply engaged with her academic studies and participated in various extracurricular activities, demonstrating her bright and personable nature. Known for her trustworthiness and loyalty to friends, Hannah was also noted for her lack of prejudice and strong empathy. She found joy in helping others, exemplified by her participation in Habitat for Humanity's rebuilding efforts in Tuscaloosa, Alabama, after a tornado. Hannah excelled academically, especially in French, which she was passionate about, and studied in France during her last summer. Musically inclined, she played the piano in her younger years, later switched to the alto saxophone, and became a section leader in a school's marching band. Athletically, she was an enthusiastic softball player and enjoyed ski racing for the University of Virginia. On the evening of September 12, 2014, Hannah set out to enjoy the weekend and attended 2 parties with her friends. Around 11 p.m., after meeting up with another friend, she left for another gathering. However, she didn't stay long at the second party, telling people she felt unwell. By that time, according to some sources, she was significantly intoxicated. A friend offered to drive her home, but Hannah chose to walk, venturing out alone into the night. At around 1:20 a.m., Hannah texted a friend saying she was lost and trying to find her way to another party. Tragically, this was the last message anyone received from her. She was supposed to meet friends the following day, a Saturday, but she never appeared. As hours passed without any contact, her friends grew increasingly worried and reached out to her parents. Concerned by her uncharacteristic silence, her parents reported her missing same day. The community's anxiety intensified with memories of the unsolved case of Morgan Harrington still fresh. The similarities in the circumstances of Hannah's disappearance quickly drew links to Morgan's case, heightening fears and prompting a large-scale search as the community braced for news.
And today we're learning more about the tragic abductions and murders of 2 women in the Charlottesville area. Several witnesses have helped set a timeline in the cases involving Morgan Harrington and Hannah Graham, 2 names that are well known to you now.
Fortuitously, the police had access to extensive CCTV coverage, which helped them reconstruct Hannah Graham's movements during the last hours she was seen. At 12:45 a.m., Hannah was recorded walking alone past McGrady's pub, appearing to be by herself. Only 10 minutes later, at 12:55 a.m., she was again captured on video, this time running past a Shell gas station. At 1:06 a.m., CCTV footage showed Hannah at Sal's Pizza on East Main Street. During this sequence, an intriguing development occurred. A man was noticed following her. He later explained to the police that he trailed Hannah because she appeared distressed, and he wanted to ensure her safety. However, subsequent analysis of the CCTV footage revealed a more alarming detail. Another man, initially seen on the opposite side of the mall, crossed the street and began following closely behind Hannah. This sequence of footage, showing 2 individuals tracking her movements, raised serious concerns about her safety and added a sinister element to the investigation. A witness provided critical information to the investigation. They reported seeing a man who appeared unfriendly approach Hannah and put his arm around her. He then escorted her to Tempo Bar, where he bought her a drink. The situation escalated when the same man was later seen with Hannah in an orange car. According to the witness, Hannah was heard firmly stating, "I am not getting into that car with you." At 1:20 a.m., amidst these troubling interactions, Hannah sent a text message to a friend expressing that she was lost. This text coincided closely with the time she was last seen, adding to the urgency of the situation. The man observed in the CCTV footage and described by witnesses was officially declared a person of interest by the police on September 20th. This development intensified the investigation as authorities sought to understand the nature of his interactions with Hannah and his potential involvement in her disappearance. Jill Harrington, Morgan's mother, deeply understood the anguish that the Graham family was experiencing. Having endured the devastating loss of her own daughter, she reached out to offer her support, empathizing with their ordeal as they navigated through the harrowing uncertainty and sorrow of Hannah's disappearance. Her gesture of solidarity was a poignant reminder of the shared grief that such tragedies bring, uniting families in their darkest times. The man captured in the CCTV footage was identified as 32-year-old Jesse Matthew Jr., a nursing assistant and part-time taxi driver. On the night Hannah Graham disappeared, Jesse had been seen at various bars, approaching different women and behaving inappropriately, which drew the attention of both witnesses and later the police. On September 21st, Jesse visited a Charlottesville police station where he briefly spoke with officers before requesting a lawyer. Following his release, he left the station at such a high speed that it led to charges of reckless driving and a subsequent arrest warrant being issued. In the days that followed, the search for Hannah intensified, with hundreds of volunteers joining efforts to locate her. Charlottesville Police Chief Timothy Lango expressed his belief that Hannah might still be in the local area, or possibly in one of the 9 surrounding counties. He urged property owners to search their land for any signs of her. The investigation continued to gain momentum as police conducted another search of Jesse Matthews' apartment on September 22nd. During this search, several items, including clothing, were seized for further examination. By the next day, enough evidence had been gathered to charge Jesse Matthew Jr. with abduction with intent to defile, a Virginia statute indicating kidnapping with the intention of sexual assault. However, by the time the charges were ready to be filed, Jesse had already withdrawn all the money from his bank account and fled. He was eventually located a few days later, camping on a beach in Texas, about 1,300 miles from Charlottesville.
Authorities caught 32-year-old Jesse Matthew Jr. camping on this beach. Around this fire pit, he had a tent, chair, and so many supplies deputies think he was here for days. 2 nights ago, the owner of this grocery says Matthew came in asking questions about the beach. He bought bug repellent, filled a jug with water, then left. Then last night, A woman driving noticed Matthew's light blue Nissan Sentra on the beach. She saw him and recognized him from mugshots on TV.
He was arrested that afternoon, bringing a temporary relief to the community and the Graham family as they awaited further developments in the harrowing case. On September 29th, a pivotal breakthrough occurred in the investigation. Forensic analysis established a connection between Jessie Matthew and Morgan Harrington. Evidence from her case was conclusively linked to him. Furthermore, DNA evidence played a crucial role in solidifying Jessie's connection to Hannah Graham as well. Laboratory tests revealed Hannah's DNA on a pair of shorts found in Jessie's apartment, and traces of her DNA were also detected in his car. Moreover, Jessie's DNA was matched to the unresolved 2005 cold case involving R.G., who had been brutally assaulted in Fairfax, Virginia. This match not only confirmed his involvement in Hannah's and Morgan's cases, but also tied him to a series of crimes that had remained unsolved for almost a decade. And responsible for a D with these forensic links, police were finally able to close in on Jessie Matthew, confirming that they had apprehended a McCade's worth of horrific crimes. This significant development brought a sense of grim closure to the communities affected by his actions and marked a major step forward in delivering justice for his victims.
Jessie Matthew appeared in court for the first time today in connection to the Morgan Harrington case from October of 2009. He faces 2 indictments, one for first-degree murder and the next for abduction with intent to defile. He faces similar charges in the Hannah Graham case from September of last year, although in that case the murder charge is capital murder. Morgan Harrington's parents spoke from the steps of the courthouse behind me after their appearance, saying that it has certainly been a long journey.
Many families never get to this point. So we are, again, pleased. All the hard work has brought us to today.
Jessie Matthew Jr. was doing this for quite a long time as a student. He had a troubling history that predated the crimes he was ultimately linked to. He was accused of sexual assault at 2 separate colleges he attended, with each incident occurring within an 11-month period. Following each accusation, he abruptly left the respective schools. Although these incidents were investigated by the police, no criminal charges were ever filed against him. This pattern of allegations and sudden departures from educational institutions raised serious concerns, yet without formal charges, Jessie continued unchecked until later forensic evidence connected him to more severe crimes. This gap in intervention highlights the challenges and sometimes the shortcomings in handling and prosecuting cases of sexual assault, particularly within college environments.
This bright, really intelligent, athletic, friendly, beautiful 18-year-old college student who's been part of our community for the last 2 years is still missing. We have no idea whatsoever where she is, despite our best efforts. As we speak, the Virginia Department of Emergency Management search and rescue team has covered most of the city. They've spent some time on Carter's Mountain. They're moving south of the city of Charlottesville into Albemarle County to search the rural parts of farmlands and large parcels once they get property owners' permission to do so. We have reason to believe that when Hannah disappeared, she was wearing I believe it's referred to as a cropped top. I believe it was silverish, it was sequined, shiny in other words. It had black mesh along the bottom and across the top. My understanding is that she was wearing black or dark colored capri type pants, very, very close fitting, and white shoes. Her iPhone, an iPhone 5S I believe, had a pink case. So if you're inspecting your property and you come across something that fits the description of those items, please do not touch them. Everyone realizes the more time that goes by, the more difficult this is going to become for everyone.
Tragically, 6 days after a press conference, the remains found were positively identified as those of Hannah Graham. It was confirmed that Hannah had died of homicide by an undetermined etiology. Her remains were discovered just 5 miles from where Morgan Harrington had been found, linking the 2 cases not just by the perpetrator, but also by the chilling proximity of their final resting places. Just 2 days after the identification of Hannah's remains, the case against Jesse Matthew escalated dramatically. He was swiftly indicted on charges of attempted murder, object sexual penetration, and abduction with intent to defile in a 2005 Fairfax incident involving RG. Despite pleading not guilty, the legal walls began to close in around him. As the proceedings for RG's case were set to commence, a more sinister turn of events unfolded. Amidst mounting evidence, Jesse was further indicted on a first-degree murder charge in Hannah Graham's case. The gravity of the situation intensified when this charge was escalated to capital murder, thus bringing the stark reality of the death penalty into the equation. In the courtroom, the atmosphere was tense and charged with anticipation. The prosecution methodically unveiled evidence, one piece after another, constructing an undeniable narrative of Jesse's guilt. Forensic data linked him to the scenes, while video evidence and witness testimonies connected the dots in a chilling recount of his actions. Each revelation added layers of gravity to the case, as the community and the victims' families watched, waiting for justice to unfold. As the trial progressed, the evidence seemed to weave a tighter web around Jesse. With the weight of the charges bearing down, the prospect of facing the ultimate penalty loomed large. The unfolding drama in the courtroom captured the attention of the nation, each day bringing more unsettling details to light. This relentless pursuit of justice painted a grim picture of the path Jesse had walked, now shadowed by the consequences of his alleged crimes. On June 10, 2015, Jesse entered an Alford plea in the 2005 case of R.G. Alford plea, a unique legal option where he didn't have to admit guilt or provide any details about what happened to his victims or why he took their lives. By accepting this plea, he merely acknowledged that the prosecution's evidence against him was likely strong enough to lead to a guilty verdict if taken to trial. This plea agreement allowed him to avoid the risk of facing the death penalty. In exchange for his acceptance of the Alford plea, the capital murder charges were dropped, and he received a life sentence instead, thus sparing him the possibility of capital punishment, but also limiting his need for full accountability for his actions.
Jesse Matthew Jr. pleaded guilty for the deaths of University of Virginia student Hannah Graham and Virginia Tech student Morgan Harrington.
3 months later, Jesse was formally charged with first-degree murder and abduction with intent to defile in Morgan Harrington's case. It is believed that on the night Morgan was abducted, Jesse may have lured her into his taxi under the guise of providing a lift home. During one of the pre-trial hearings, in a poignant moment of grace, Morgan's mother, Jill Harrington, approached Jesse's mother and held her hand. She expressed a profound sentiment of forgiveness and understanding, stating, "It was the right thing to do. I hold no animosity towards his family. They did nothing wrong." This gesture underscored the Harrington family's enduring strength and compassion amidst their unimaginable loss. In October 2015, at the conclusion of the trial in the victim's case, Jesse Matthew was sentenced to 3 life terms, finally bringing some measure of justice to the families of the victims affected by his decade-long trail of violence. In March 2016, the looming trials for Jesse Matthew in the cases of Morgan Harrington and Hannah Graham were preempted by a decisive plea agreement. Jesse pled guilty to 2 counts of first-degree murder and 2 counts of abduction with intent to defile, encompassing both cases. This plea enabled him to escape the death penalty, but he was sentenced to 4 life terms without the possibility of parole. Both the Harrington and Graham families expressed their support for the plea deal, relieved to avoid the anguish of enduring protracted trials. In total, Jesse Matthew Jr. received 7 life sentences, reflecting the severity and breadth of his criminal actions. There remains speculation that Jesse could be linked to additional victims, suggesting that his full impact on the community might never be completely uncovered. In a development that added another layer to his story, Jesse was diagnosed with stage 4 colon cancer in May 2019. Following this diagnosis, he was transferred to a different prison to begin medical treatment. The families of Morgan Harrington and Hannah Graham were informed of his transfer, a gesture acknowledging the continued connection between the convict's fate and the families forever altered by his actions. In the wake of their indescribable loss, Jill and Dan Harrington transformed their grief into a formidable movement for change with the creation of Help Save the Next Girl. This national non-profit organization emerged from the tragic disappearance and murder of their daughter, Morgan Harrington, galvanizing the couple to prevent similar tragedies. The foundation is dedicated to promoting safety on college campuses and communities nationwide, establishing a proactive presence in areas vulnerable to violence. It engages with media outlets and law enforcement to enhance awareness and distribute crucial information about missing persons and prevention strategies. By fostering a network of support and solidarity, Help Save the Next Girl provides outreach to families of victims, helping them navigate their darkest hours while advocating for systemic changes to enhance safety and security in everyday environments. This initiative represents the Harringtons' commitment to turning their personal tragedy into a rallying cry for community action and safety, ensuring that their daughter's legacy is one of hope and prevention. John Graham, Hannah's father, poignantly reflected on the bittersweet legacy left by his daughter. He stated, "Hannah's enduring gift to all of us is that she enabled this wicked man to be apprehended and convicted. She did change the world, but at a terrible price." This sentiment underscores the profound impact of Hannah's case, which not only led to a criminal's conviction, but also ignited a broader movement towards enhancing safety and preventive measures in communities across the country. On the night of Hannah Graham's disappearance, witnesses observed unsettling interactions between her and Jesse L. Matthew Jr., the man later convicted for her murder. Their observations, such as Matthew not appearing friendly and fears that he might harm Hannah, did not prompt them to intervene. A moment of inaction that has since sparked significant discussion on the importance of bystander intervention. The grim outcomes for Hannah Graham and for Morgan Harrington, who was also a victim of Matthew, have highlighted a common reluctance among the public to step in during potentially dangerous situations, often described as human inertia. This hesitance can stem from various concerns, including doubt about whether a situation truly warrants intervention and fear of embarrassment or reprisal if one's perceptions are wrong. In response to these tragedies, there have been concerted efforts to educate the public and empower potential bystanders. Initiatives like the Help Save the Next Girl campaign by the Harringtons and various programs introduced by the University of Virginia aim to raise awareness and provide training on how to act effectively in precarious situations. These programs educate individuals on recognizing signs of danger and taking responsible action without escalating risk, thereby aiming to prevent future incidents similar to those that claimed the lives of Graham and Harrington. By involving local businesses, universities, and community members in active bystander training, these initiatives strive to cultivate a more vigilant and proactive community capable of preventing similar tragedies. The Morgan Dana Harrington Memorial Scholarship was established to honor Morgan Harrington's memory and her passion for education. This scholarship benefits students at the Virginia Tech Carilion School of Medicine, VTCSOM, and has raised over $375,000 since its inception. The scholarship was founded in conjunction with an annual fundraising event, the Docs for Morgan basketball game, which began in 2012. The event features a friendly basketball match between VTC-SOM students and Carilion Clinic physicians, and it has become a significant community gathering that both commemorates Morgan's life and supports medical students through scholarship funds. The scholarship and the associated fundraiser highlight the community's commitment to transforming a profound loss into a positive force for future medical professionals, reflecting Morgan's interests and aspirations in the field of education. With Morgan Harrington's killer now serving a life sentence, her mother, Gil Harrington, has channeled her relentless determination and profound grief into a poignant literary endeavor. Gil has co-authored a book titled Morgan Harrington, Murdered and Dead for Good. Gil describes the process of writing the book as painfully cathartic, akin to pulling out shards of glass. Through these efforts, Gil Harrington transforms her indescribable pain into a lasting legacy of awareness and activism in memory of Morgan. Every October 17th, Gil Harrington and her husband Dan mark the anniversary of their daughter Morgan's tragic death by standing on a bridge in Charlottesville and tying a black ribbon around a lamppost. This year, they add the 5th ribbon, one for each year since Morgan was killed. Gil Harrington hints that this ribbon could be the last. The ceremony holds a different weight now, as the man linked to Morgan's death is behind bars. However, the case intertwines with another troubling disappearance, that of Hannah Graham, who is still missing. The connection between the two cases brings a complex layer of emotion to the Harringtons' annual tribute. For Gill, the ordeal of having a missing child is an unimaginable torment, as she expressed that knowing Morgan's fate, as heartbreaking as it was, brought a certain grim closure that the uncertainty of a disappearance never could. Morgan was missing for 101 days, a period Gill describes as a hell of not knowing, underscoring the profound helplessness and sorrow of missing a loved one without a trace. There are no societal rituals for the missing, no standard way to mourn or cope, leaving families like the Harringtons to navigate their grief without guidance or closure. As this story unfolds, revealing depths of sorrow and heights of community resilience, it becomes a call to action for each of us. It reminds us of the power of unity in facing adversities and the impact we can have in safeguarding the vulnerable and supporting those who have suffered. Let's carry forward this spirit of change and vigilance, ensuring such tragedies are never repeated. Speaking of tragedies, the story of Grace Millane, whose Tinder date led to one of the most extensive missing person searches in New Zealand's history, is an example of how communities come together in times of crisis. Click on the following video to learn more about the investigation and the global effort to find answers.